Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I am bringing a suspenseful thriller to you. I am bringing a mystery for you. This particular picture is iconic. If you are a fan of Sherlock, the BBC series, you must have guessed it. I am locked. Sherlock, the famous detective of Baker Street, was completely in awe, was completely perplexed as to what these four letters or numbers or symbols. He searched and could not find the answer. But when he finally did, it was this: I am Sherlock. Yes, as far as Sherlock, the BBC series, Sherlock Holmes, movies by Alfred Hitchcock are concerned, all of them fall under the category of a thriller. A thriller is a genre of fiction having numerous, often overlapping subgenres. Thrillers are characterized and defined by the moods they elicit, giving viewers heightened feelings of suspense, excitement, surprise, anticipation, and anxiety. There are many movies, many dramas made. They are brilliant thrillers to watch out for. But basically, a thriller is a cover up of important information. A thriller is usually a villain driven plot whereby they present obstacles that the protagonist must overcome. So, in thrillers, we have a very strong villain, that is the antagonist. Today, I am going to deal with the chapter number 7 from Vistas. Evans tries an O level by a very famous crime novel writer, Colin Dexter. He was born on 29 September 1930 and died on 21st March 2017. He was an English crime writer known for his Inspector Morse series of novels, which were written between 1975 and 1999 and adapted as an ITV television series, Inspector Morse, from 1987 to 2000. He earned both his bachelor's degree and master's degree in classics from Christ's College, Cambridge. He was a teacher for most of his life and eventually he had to retire because of his worsening deafness. After a stint writing textbook, Dexter turned to mysteries, eventually penning 13 mystery novels. He created the famous detective Inspector Morse in 1975. The Inspector Morse series soon moved to the small screen, and so did Dexter. He made frequent cameo appearances on the TV show. Dexter earned 2 silver daggers, 2 golden daggers, and a diamond dagger from the Crime Writers Association of Britain. He was knighted in 2000, honored as an officer of the Order of the British Empire. So, such a prominent figure as far as crime writing was concerned. He had written many books, these are some of them, and I will straight away move forward to the story and the theme of the story that we are going to deal with. Evans tries an O level. It depicts the clash of wit between a criminal and the law enforcing authorities, in which the prisoner Evans befools the jail authorities and manages to escape from the prison. If the government and law enforcing officials are vigilant, crime can be detected and criminals can be booked. But criminals like Evans can hoodwink the authorities and escape punishment as soon as the officials are slow and lack alertness and wit. So Evans is the main character, a prisoner, and we have some other characters. Let's see who they are. A higher official of the examination board, that is the secretary of the examination board. We have governor, an important character, the governor of HM Prison, Oxford. Mr. Jackson and Mr. Stephens, the prison officers. Reverend Stuart McLeary, an invigilator. Mr. Carter, a detective superintendent. And Mr. Bell, a detective chief inspector. Coming to the story itself. In March, the secretary of the examinations board receives a call from the governor at Oxford Prison, asking if one of his prisoners can take the final exam in O-level German. James Roderick Evans is a jovial, congenital kleptomaniac who has escaped from various prisons 3 times, though the governor is determined to not let that happen at Oxford prison. The governor and the secretary decide that Evans will take the test in his own cell and that they will get a parson to be the invigilator. So, the main characters and places of the story, we have Oxford prison, we have Evans, the congenital kleptomaniac, a jovial fellow, not very violent, but he had escaped from prison thrice already, and that is why he was famously known as Evans the Break. And then we have the governor at the Oxford prison. Now, coming to kleptomania, kleptomania is the inability to resist the urge to steal items, usually for reasons other than personal use or financial gain. So, it is basically a disease, and congenital is that by birth. So, Evans was a congenital kleptomaniac, that is, by birth, he had the tendency to steal. So it was decided that Evans will take the examination of German O level and the examination would be conducted in his cell only. The governor himself supervised all the precautions. Senior Officer Jackson and Officer Stephens were very vigilant and worked round the clock. All the sharp things, including the nail cutter, razor, etc., were removed from the cell of Evans. His cell was bugged to hear the communication between him and the invigilator. A vigil was kept on his cell during the course of the examination. So the prison authorities took all the necessary measures, but there were still some loopholes. Do remember, students, that even when the nail filer and the nail cutter and everything sharp was taken away, Evans mentioned that he must keep his hat on. Hat on. Why? Because his hat, according to him, was very lucky for him and he needed his luck for his examination. So he kept his hat with him, and in the prison cell, the blanket was obviously there. So these two objects are of importance. We will move forward. At 8:45 a.m. one morning in June, Reverend Stuart McLeary makes his way to Oxford prison, where he was scheduled to invigilate a 2-hour examination at 9:15 a.m. When McLeary arrives, the senior prison officer Jackson searches his briefcase. The officer is baffled by a strange, partially inflated rubber ring that looks like a child's pool toy. McLeary irritably explains that it's a special cushion he sits on because of his hemorrhoid problem. Embarrassed, Jackson apologizes and sends the invigilator back to Evans' cell. After a few more hiccups, the exam finally begins at 9:25 a.m. So we have the prison officer, and invigilator is the person who takes care of the examination proceedings, and he's the one who give away the documents. He is the one who take away the answer sheets. Invigilator, and there was a rubber ring in the briefcase of Mr. McLeary, and prison officer could not understand what that was, and that is when Mr. McLeary said that this is the rubber ring on which he sits because he suffers from hemorrhoids. So everything was okay and the examination began. The examinations board calls the governor, the assistant secretary with a special responsibility for modern languages, explains that some fool forgot to include a correction slip in the envelope with the other exam materials. The governor wonders if the call is a fake, but tells himself that he's being silly. Since Evans' cell has been bugged, the governor listens as McLeary reads out the corrections to Evans. Meanwhile, Stephens peers into the peephole of the Evans cell every few minutes. At one point, he was surprised to see a blanket draped over Evans' shoulders. Stephens wonders if this is the kind of slight irregularity he should report, but reasons that it is cold in the prison. So, as I told you, that blanket, he draped the blanket, Evans. And Stephens thought that whether it is okay or not, but then he decided, okay, let it go, it's cold, and let him drape it, it's okay. At 11:20 a.m., McLeary informs Evans that there are only 5 minutes remaining. 2 minutes later, Jackson receives a call from the governor asking for Stephens. Stephens is to escort McLeary out of the prison when the exam is over. When Stephens escorts the man out, he observes that the minister's Scottish accent seems broader than ever, and that he seems thinner than before. Once McLeary is gone, Stephens returns to Ivan's cell. There is McLeary, sprawled out and covered in blood. So Stephens, when he went out with McLeary, he noticed that this man is looking thinner, and his voice, his way of speaking has also changed. So he was a bit doubtful. And he just went to the cell to confirm whether everything is okay or not. And when he went inside, there was this McLeary. The real McLeary was on the chair, and the blood was everywhere, and he was completely injured. Chaos ensues, and the governor arrives on the scene. McLeary feebly thrusts the German exam into his hand, and there on the last page of the exam is a cleverly superimposed photocopied sheet instructing Evans about how to escape. So the question paper itself was of help, and there was a superimposed paper in which all the directions were written and all the instructions were given. After having Detective Superintendent Carter taken McLeary to the hospital, so obviously they had to take McLeary out of here, and he was severely injured. So the governor let Detective Carter take McLeary and hand him over to the hospital. The governor berates Stephens for ignorantly letting the criminal go free, but he stutters that he was only following the governor's orders. The governor screams that he never gave Stephens those orders. The call was a fake. The governor calls the hospital to check up on McLeary, but the hospital says that they don't have any patients named McLeary. So everything was in a complete chaos. There was no McLeary in the hospital. There was one McLeary or Evans that was gone, and they did not know who went where, and everybody was gone. Suddenly, the governor realizes his mistake. It had not been Evans impersonating McLeary who had walked out. It had been Evans impersonating McLeary who had stayed in. 15 minutes later, they find the real McLeary gagged and bound at his flat. So once they realized that Evans was the one on the chair inside the cell with all blood all over, who impersonated McLeary was the one who went out, who escaped, and they were the one who sent him out. And Mr. McLeary, the real Mr. McLeary, never left his house. He was there in his house, bound and gagged. So there was somebody else who called himself McLeary. And in this way, Evans escaped. So here you come to know that Evans had great friends outside. He had so many connections that the question paper was there to help him out. The invigilator was one of his co-conspirators, and he himself impersonated that person and went out. So he finally escaped. But the governor in the case knew German a little bit. That is why he went to see the correction slip. And when he realized that the question paper number and the index number, as well as some details in the correction slip, he pointed out that Evans must have gone to Golden Lion Hotel in Chipping Norton. After a pleasant dinner, Evans returns to the Golden Lion Hotel. So actually Evans was there in Golden Lion Hotel. He thinks about how the fake McLeary had worn two of everything. Two clerical shirts, two clerical collars, two coats. So that McLeary who came earlier, he was wearing everything too. And when when Evans was inside the prison cell with that McLeary, that fake McLeary, I mean, when he draped that blanket, you know what he did? He changed his clothing. And that McLeary gave away one set to Evans. And that rubber ring, if you remember, it contained pig's blood. And that blood was used to sprawl all over Evans so that nobody could get where this blood came. I mean, they could not even guess anything. So, and Evans had managed to wiggle into his disguise underneath the grey blanket. That is why I said that the hat and the blanket were important. Evans had actually cut short his hair like the fake McCleary, and later on he removed the hat, and that is why the officers and the governor could not believe that he was not Evans, because they thought that Evans had long hair, but he had cut down his hair. Evans enters his room and instantly freezes there. Sitting on the bed is the governor. He finally found out where Evans was, at Golden Lion Hotel. Realizing he can't escape, Evans begins telling the governor about his scheme. He explains that the most pivotal part was the fake call to Stephens in the last 3 minutes of the exam, which gave Evans and McCleary time to use the pig's blood, which was concealed in McCleary's inflatable rubber ring. And the governor finally found out he was at Golden Lion, and he was happy enough, smart enough to find out where this man went after breaking the prison. Then he called a prison officer, and a silent prison officer handcuffs Evans and loads him into a prison van. Evans asked if the governor knows any other modern languages. He noticed that prison was offering O-level Italian in September, so he was making fun. The governor says that Evans might not be at Oxford prison come September. Evans agrees that yes, I might not be at your prison for sure, and that the governor might be right. The governor watches the van pull away. And governor was very happy that I did the great job. I did it all by myself. I found out where he went. The prison break fails. But did it really? When the van reaches the main road, the silent prison officer hurriedly unlocks Evans' handcuffs and snaps at the driver to drive faster, as it won't take them long to find out. In a thick Scottish accent, the driver asks where they should make for, and Evans suggests Newbury. So in this manner, the story comes to an end, and in a nutshell, we can say that Evans was a congenital kleptomaniac and was in Oxford prison. He was an expert at escaping from prisons and was called Evans the Brick. He was a genius at planning and foresight. He was very clever and had many friends and contacts who helped him to escape. And you know, in the end, the prison van, the prison officer, the driver, everybody was a co-conspirator with Evans, and they took him where he wanted to go. And I believe that this man, the Scottish accent, the one with the Scottish accent, one who asked that where should we go, happens to be the same man who came to the prison impersonating Mr. McCleary. So well, he was a very good actor too, as nobody doubted him when he was acting as McCleary. Evans was a genius and a master in planning his escapes. He uses all tactics: psychology, emotional display, great acting skills, convincing powers, and amiability to carry out his plan. The governor, despite being overcautious, is not able to prevent his escape. However, after a lot of efforts, he is able to trace and capture Evans, arrest him, and send him to the prison house. But at this point also, he is outsmarted by Evans. In fact, the prison officials are no one else but his friends in disguise. Once again, Evans escapes due to the carelessness of the governor. He has the last laugh, and that is how he finally escaped the prison. This is a summary: the mistakes by the jail authorities, the cap not removed, that is very important. The teacher was not properly checked, that is why he came inside wearing 2 sets of everything. McCleary's identity not cross-checked, the proper checking was not done, reason of engaged phone was not checked. McCleary looked thin, but Stephens ignored that. And let us see how he escaped after being rearrested. Teacher was associated to him, long laid blooded plan he had. McCleary was also his associate. Imported clothes and blood in the semi-inflated tube. Human and pig blood were there. The hair managed by razors hidden behind the cap. The plaster was on the face. Evans finally escaped. The governor was completely shocked. He called the police van, and van took away Evans. But that was actually the last mistake by the governor, because he should have gone with him, but he let the prison officers go with Evans, and those prison officers were no one but his friends, and that is how Evans finally escaped. So, Evans, a jovial fellow, a kleptomaniac, not violent at all, he used all the tactics and proving that appearances can be deceptive. So, in this manner, Evans tries an O level to break the prison, and he finally did it. My suggestion to you is, though the story is long, go through it once, go through it twice. You will enjoy it. Such a brilliant thriller written by Colin Dexter. With this, I will close this session today. Thank you.